Okay, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the OPC to order on Wednesday, the 13th, September 13th at 8:30. First item is approval of prior meeting minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 14th, 2023?
I'll move
Duke
that
moves.
motion.
Jim
Second.
seconds. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, I'll go through my report. We have the 43rd Darien Annual, or Darien Road Race. This is an annual race sponsored by the Community Fund. It's this Sunday, September 17th. There's still time to register on the Community Fund's website, and all the proceeds from this year's race will support youth and family nonprofit services here in Darien, Stamford, and Norwalk. The Monuments and Ceremonies Commission held its annual September 11th Memorial Observation Ceremony this past Monday. Ceremony took place at Darien's 9/11 Monument, located in the courtyard behind Middlesex Middle School. And I feel it's important to take a moment each year to remember those that lost their lives and those that gave so much of themselves that day. And that also we remain united and hopeful about the future. The Grove Street Tilly Area Flood Study presentation was held on 9/11 at 7 o'clock in the Town Hall Auditorium, and the results of that study can be found on the Public Works page of the town website under Stormwater Information and Guidelines. Metro North, as you know, has resumed service on the New Canaan branch line. With that in mind, if you have not had the opportunity to fill out the noise abatement survey, the deadline is extended to September 15th. That's this Friday. And I've also been in touch with Westcog. The next move there would be to have a public information session, and we're looking into places in Darien to hold it. Darien was the #1 responder as far as total people responding. The Human Services Department is offering mental health first aid training in November. This is an interactive class that gives members of the public key skills to help someone who is developing a mental health problem or experiencing a mental health crisis. And for more information or to register, you would go to the Human Services page on our website. Hurricane season has begun in all town of Darien departments with responsibilities related to emergency preparedness. Remain proactively informed and ready. Later today, we will have a quarterly meeting with Eversource regarding emergency procedures. Perhaps you've heard, I'm excited to announce the grand tour of Great Island. It's scheduled for Sunday, September 23rd. Saturday? We changed it? Just kidding. Oh. Saturday. Sorry. It's scheduled for Saturday, September 23rd. We'll have 3 school buses running the route from Pear Tree Beach back to the island and then back. We're excited to get as many residents on the property to see the property. The tour will not include an opportunity to go on facilities, but we will be making 1 or 2 brief stops on the grounds. The island is still there's still no access to the island for residents by car, by bike, by walk-in, by boat. And this holds true for the day of the scheduled tours. Only residents with bus reservations will be allowed on the property. At Monday's Board of Selectmen meeting, Aquarian will be providing an update on water priorities within our service areas, such as water quality and conservation, environmental projections, information on capital projects, and any other items the town would like to cover with our 10 to 15-minute PowerPoint presentation. There'll be an opportunity to ask questions also, right? We'll put that in? Okay. Staying with water, I had the privilege of touring the Hemlocks treatment plant, which plays a crucial role in providing clean and safe water to the residents of Darien. That's where all of our water comes from. The tour was led by the CEO, Don Morrissey, and provided valuable insights into the intricate processes involved in ensuring water quality. Additionally, there was discussion about possibly opening up the plant to tours for the public in the future, which I really support. It was really, really fascinating to see the process that our water takes on its trail to getting here safely. And finally, the website is being upgraded. The tentative date for the new website to go live is September 26th. Kate is in training with other town employees right now.
Well,
She was
in 20 minutes, I will be.
Yeah.
Is she teaching that, or?
She is. She's going to jump soon for that. How to manage and upload information to this site. And I want to thank Kate and her team for all of the hard work on this. Oh, there's Linda too. Creating a website with improved navigation that will also be ADA compliant. This was a really big undertaking, and I think it's going to benefit our town greatly, and I really appreciate all the work on this. So we have somebody that would like to, might have to scoot here, so Seth, you want to start your report?
Thank you very much. I have a meeting on Long Island, and it'll take a while to get there, I think. The Rules Committee met, set the agenda for the upcoming RTM meeting on the 18th. I'm going to do a brief announcement on Henley Homes and Royal. Since we approved the money, we thought, let's just put it on the record, let you know what isn't going to happen for a year. For those of you who don't read the newspaper, never mind. We'll do an update on Great Island. Mark Adaletta, he's our representative there. An update on the ARPA. Jack Davis is working with Kate on that, so he wants to talk a little bit about what's going on there.
He's been helpful.
And then we've got two pieces of business: a special appropriation of $679,000 to replace funds in the reserve for capital non-recurring expenditures, and a donation from the Darien Little League of $200,000 to refurbish McGuan Field. So that's it. There are some other items which aren't on the warning, but that we kind of have floating in the background. The local ordinance about waiving certain penalties, that was withdrawn, I think.
Yes.
But if it comes back, we're ready. We've got some committees assigned to that, and also the noise ordinance, saw that front page, nice going. And we have two committees assigned to that when it's ready to come to us.
Safety and TGS&A?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's going on.
On the Little League thing, is that a donation of actual, item, or donation of money that the town will then construct the item?
I think the way the deal is worked out is that the Little League is gonna do it and then get reimbursed.
So we're going to, this is the way I understand it, because I had some questions
yeah,
about
you
whether or
can
not
tell
it needed
the
Board of Finance approval.
Right.
We are going to bid the project so that all town rules are followed, but Little League will be paying the bills. It's a little bit of an unusual way to do it.
So therefore,
But
we're just accepting the finished product?
We're accepting the finished product.
We did that with DAF and the
Yeah.
concession stand up at the high school. Worked out.
It worked out well?
Yeah.
Is that how Cherry Lawn was done?
Cherry Lawn,
They built the field, the Cherry Lawn?
I don't recall that.
Dave Ott paid for it and Global Partners.
Yeah, sometimes, so, I think the interesting thing here is that we're gonna bid it, which I think that was an important thing, that, it will follow our rules in terms of bidding. But I don't know that that's always been the case when somebody's given us a finished product.
Do you know if there's any P and Z work to be done? We haven't seen anything. Are they building buildings, just
I'm
cut
sure.
grass?
That's a very good question, because I do believe one of the issues with the field has been drainage.
Right, irrigation.
I will make sure Pam
Yeah.
gets in touch with Jeremy.
Yeah. Okay.
So Kate, in terms of actually like overseeing the construction and CO completion, all of that, I mean, that'll actually be the Little League, not the town?
Yes.
Okay.
Which makes sense. Only,
Kind of like us building the schools and then giving them to the Board of Ed.
Care, control, and custody.
Yes, which we are going to have to do soon.
Yes.
the only thing that came to me on Great Island was the nature of the polluter. We never really, what the stuff is out there that we got to remediate. I don't think at least I'm sensing some of the members of the RTM didn't focus on what it was. I guess it's arsenic, and I don't know whether that presents any different kind of remediation than some other kind of pollution, or it's just like all handled the same way, and what the costs are. We weren't sure what the 18 million, how much of that is for that and how much of it has to apply to other stuff. And there may be things that, you're in the middle of talking about.
We are, yeah.
So
Give us-
I will accept
Yes.
caution on that, but I
Yes.
wanted to let you know, at least the arsenic piece, they say, oh, wait a minute, what's,
Right.
Are these questions from RTM members or
Yeah.
from the general public?
No, from the
RTM
RTM,
members.
Okay.
to the Rules Committee.
We're in the middle of working on some stuff, so we will get back to you on that.
Okay.
Okay. Steve, you want to go next?
Sure. It's the beginning of a new session for us because we were off in August, so now we're in September. The next big item on our list is probably Weed Beach. That application's coming in soon. We opened it last night and proposed it, Weed Beach. I haven't really seen the plans yet, but we have the plans. They're going to basically double the size of the beach on the south side, going closer from where the existing lifeguard stands or towards the Norotan Bay Association Beach, which will be really nice. And it creates some more parking there. That's going to come up, I think, October 3rd is when it hits the agenda again.
Steve, if I could, I don't think it's going to be more parking necessarily.
Right.
It's going to be improved, the ground, where there is currently overflow parking is all.
Right. Yeah,
And so
it's
they're not increasing the size of that, is my understanding. It's
Okay.
just,
Right.
Yeah, the plans, everything's online now,
yeah.
so I haven't
I just
seen
don't want the
plans.
public thinking we're going to
Right.
be paving over areas that are not currently
No, it
used for
definitely says,
parking.
yeah, it definitely says gravel, which is what's there today.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think we're looking at 4 additional spots.
Oh,
So it's
great,
not-
fantastic.
I think one of the important things for the public to know is that this is a property that the town purchased, demolished the home, and sort of kept, a little bit in temporary state for the last 8 or 9 years. And now, we bought that because it was adjacent to other town-owned property. And we're now, with the help of some private partners, going to expand that and actually use it to sort of enhance that whole facility down there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the master plan, that's the same exact thing with homeschool. You buy the house, knock it down, so you could expand the school. So we bought the house, knock it down, expand the school. This is the same, we bought the house, it was under town plan of conservation development to buy that house since 2006.
Right.
You
It's
know,
a
so been
long
around-
time, yeah.
Around for 15, 20 years, we finally bought it, and can expand on it. And I think it's gonna wrap around, the existing water treatment plant there, so it'll hide that a little bit. Which I think at the end of the day, when we see it, it'll be really nice once the finished project is done. But it still has to go through our process. One of the only other items that's still working in progress is the Bird Code Restaurant, which is up on the end of the Post Road towards the Norwalk side. That is still under construction. It's a little bit delayed. It's
The old bank building?
It's the old HSBC bank building, which is converting it to a quick service restaurant with a drive-through lane. They knocked down the existing drive-through lane for the bank, and they're gonna open up another one. So that's a big, expensive project. I think the really important thing that Darien has to do as a town is watch the other, I'm trying to say it politely, but watch the other side of the border. In Norwalk, at that area, the DoubleTree Hotel was recently purchased. It was purchased by Costco. They're gonna knock it down and create more parking there. I announced it a long time ago, but I'll announce it again. Walmart is being changed into Target. That's gonna happen probably after this holiday season. And next to that, across the road, is Wegmans is going in behind, not Costco, I think it's behind where the new apartment building is and self-storage is. So there's a lot of traffic that's going to be generated on that end of town. It does affect Darien because it's overflow. If I-95 gets backed up at exit 13 heading south, it all goes straight through our town. Yep. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. We do get notifications from adjacent municipalities when it's within X miles or X feet from the border, town border. But I think the Costco parking lot, I don't know what else they're going to put there. I'm guessing they're probably going to put a gas station there. That's what usually Costco does. That does have effect on the town of Darien, so that's something we keep our eyes on.
Steve, do you go into any of those planning and zoning meetings? Do you get involved with Norwalk at all?
No, I've never been to one of their meetings. We get notifications of them, and because I'm kind of sort of in the business, I kind of like
You know what's going on.
what's going on.
Okay.
The other thing that's kind of important, the P&Z department is now fully online with OpenGov. Each one of us on P&Z got an iPad. It was a town-issued iPad. My passcode is 00000, so it makes it easy on me.
Thanks for sharing that.
Just to reach
He'll be-
cybersecurity rule number one.
Yes, he'll be changing that
Somebody's
momentarily.
passing out an IT
To
department.
his birthday, so now try something different. No dog name either.
Yes, so that's, everything that's online in our town can be viewed by anybody's in town or outside of the town on their iPad or on the computer at home. Everything's on there. Right now, it's in the OpenGov section, which is a link from another section. The easiest way to get there is by the agendas. I think with the revamp of the webpage, maybe it'll come closer to the top. I'm not really sure. But I think that's something that's, moving our town forward. The other thing that I want to just bring up is for you, Tracy, and I guess you, Monica, relative to the EDC piece. I spoke to both, all three, David Genovese, Patrick McMahon, and the Vacaros. They're all on board for whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Okay. Jim?
Happy to go over you from the Board of Finance perspective. It's been a relatively quiet summer. We've had some transfers and so forth as we're kind of finishing up the fiscal 2023 year. But otherwise, just keeping an eye on all the budgets and some of the capital items, small, medium, and large that are coming down the pipeline. So not a lot new to report.
Hey, Jim, when do you start working on budget things?
When did you stop,
Yeah,
Craig?
when do you,
That's a good, yeah, when do you stop?
Well,
when do you like kick it in to,
when do we what?
when do you kick it in? When do you shift your
High
focus
gear.
to the budget?
Well, the budget says, start with the town administrator and the superintendent and sort of
Right.
percolate up through your boards and then come to us
Okay.
in I think the second week of February.
Okay.
And so forth. But, obviously, we're looking at overall spending
All the
and so
time.
forth
Okay.
around the clock. As you know, we don't actually set the budgets. We don't create the budgets. We just
Right.
approve and or modify them.
But you do give us kind of guidance,
Yeah.
and that's what
Yep.
I'm wondering.
Yeah, and so typically we deliver that at the state of the town, but I think this year we'll be doing that sooner.
Great.
I know the school kicks off its budget sort of.
What,
Yeah.
August?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
We actually last
So-
night spoke about setting a meeting date for the board to give the superintendent guidance.
Yeah.
That's based on feedback from the last couple of years. And then, we want to talk about how does that play into then talking to you about overall guidance too as we start building the budget. But
We do already have people who are developing their budgets, especially, looking at capital projects and stuff. So the sooner you can give guidance, the better, because by the time of the State of the Town meeting, most of the budgets are 90% done, ready to submit to us, so.
Yeah, I think we'll have it before then. We have a meeting next week, and I assume we'll probably have something in October.
Okay, that would be helpful.
School is open. I want to thank Monica for attending the convocation. We had a great opening of schools. We had a new teacher orientation at Tokenique, which I attended, and welcomed 36 new teachers and staff to the district, which was great. We continue to be a district that attracts talent, although if anyone has listened in on the Board of Ed meetings, we continue to focus on retention and recruitment of our existing staff. We've had more turnover than we would like. That's kind of a national challenge. Anyone pays attention, there are schools without teachers, there are schools without busing. So we're fortunate. We continue to draw people to the district, and there was no quiet summer in terms of the district or the board in terms of interviewing and looking at candidates and working throughout the summer. So I have to say, in my 9 years, I think it was the quietest school opening in terms of challenges or issues from parents, which usually focuses around busing. I had one bus complaint. And so I think in a population of 4,700 kids, and probably half of them are on buses, that's a pretty good scenario. We opened with just shy of 4,600 students. That's 11 less than last year. And as always, as the summer progressed, I think at one point we were down 60, but as the summer progressed and people moved in and we sent out reminders and people registered, we got, up to that number.
Could you repeat the number again?
Just shy of 4,600. Unfortunately, last night we accepted Tara Worm's resignation from the Board of Ed. So we wish her well and really appreciate her service as a volunteer for almost 2 years. I believe, unfortunately, she has to leave town, but I'm sure she's got a lot of friends here and will continue to stay in touch. But we wish her well and thank her. She was passionate about curriculum and policy and really contributed over the last 2 years. So it's much appreciated. And, it takes a lot to come on any of these boards and get ramped up, but I think especially so on the Board of Ed. But she also had always participated before joining the board. So we wish her well and thank her for her service. Much appreciated.
So Duke, she's moving out of town.
That's my understanding,
Right.
yes. Yeah. We, I guess, reconciled our budgets and returned $810,000 from the Board of Ed budget in terms of a surplus. Don't spend it all in one place, Mr. Palin. We had our first meeting, of which Jim and Dan Baumgartner are participating, really our second meeting, but really first meeting from a negotiation standpoint with the Darien Administrators contract. That is a 3-year contract we're working on. We had an incredibly productive meeting last week, 2.5, 3 hours, worked really through contractual language and items, and at the end of the day, I think we, out of 26 some odd items, we agreed to over half a dozen items that we came to an agreement with. So very cordial. They're in a transition with Luke leaving and some other folks leaving, so they've kind of got a temporary group of leaders from a union standpoint. They're also dealing with a new person that's helping them that is not an attorney, but she's a very skilled negotiator. And our attorney, Tom Mooney, knows her well. So, I would say their main themes, which we all appreciate and we respect, are retention, recruitment for the district, work-life balance, and of course the financial side of it. So I believe we'll work through and get to that point. It's about 36 folks in that union, and it was a very productive meeting. They appreciated our approach, we appreciated their approach, and we have another meeting next week where we'll start digging more into the financial side of it. So, last night we also renewed the superintendent's contract. So that contract is in effect as of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th of 2026. The superintendent is on a 3-year contract that is reviewed and renewed along with a performance review on an annual basis and extended annually, so he's always on a 3-year contract. So that was voted through last night. Oxridge is open. We had a great presentation last night. If you go online, the presentation should be posted by our new principal up there, Melissa. So we celebrated the opening of the school, phase 2, and it's really been wonderful in terms of the students, the parents, the whole community up there, the busing. Everything works really well. I think the one interesting comment from Melissa, who's an outsider that came into the district and has been at various places across the country and been part of building new schools or running new schools. And when I was over there and asked her thoughts about the school and having been part of it since the beginning and the time and energy you spend with architects, she said it is one of the most functional schools she's ever been in. So I say mission accomplished. everyone worries about the color of the brick and the look and the feel and the landscaping and all that fun stuff, which is all phenomenal, and everyone worked hard on that. But I think the committee really focused on the flow and the needs of the students. And I think to get that from a 30-year educator with a lot of principal experience, not just in the country but outside of the country, the first words out of her mouth were incredibly functional. So
That's not easy on a site like that in the construction plan.
you're right. You're
'Cause
right.
you get to knock down, build, start again.
And it was a phased
knock down.
approach also, a phased approach. So mission accomplished there. I commented last night, as did Melissa Kip Coombs. Kip really led the charge, continues to lead the charge. It's been a full-time job for him, as we come to the end of delivering a school on time and under budget. We have a meeting this Thursday. The format of the committee will change a little as we start focusing on the punch list and just the final accounting and working with the state on reimbursement. But, as the town has done in the past, thanks to leaders like, Jamie Stevenson and Monica McNally and the whole team, the Right Building Committee, through a group of incredible volunteers, is always put together. And I don't think anyone can appreciate, unless you do it, the time and energy that goes into some of these committees from a building committee perspective. So again, I think it's a model for how we do business, from the town garage to these schools to other things that we do around town. So we're excited. It's a great school, and I know HHR is on its way also. That's all I have for right now.
Can I ask you a couple more questions relative to population?
Sure.
You said it was net 11 students less, which is not really a big number.
Right.
But with regards to the elementary schools, and I guess it's ELP, that's the third grade kids or the 3-year-old kids?
Early learning program. Yeah.
How is that growing, or is that getting smaller?
It's grown a little bit. Yeah, I think we're up to about 90 kids, and it's been consolidated into Oxbridge, which
Right.
has been a huge benefit from a staffing and student standpoint. I think last check, there was a little more or less than a handful of kids that have entered the district from the new developments. We continue to monitor Avalon, Federal, Kensett, and nothing out of the ordinary has triggered anything from an enrollment standpoint.
Okay, so you might have lost 15 kids in the high school, but you gained
Right.
3 kids in ELP or
Exactly.
home.
Most of the gains were down in the elementary
That's what I
schools.
figured.
And then there's a kind of a natural trend sometimes from middle school to high school where there's a loss, where people choose the private schools, up the
Fair
line or
for
something
perhaps.
like that. So, but overall relatively stable, and that's kind of the forecast. The forecast was for 47 more students, and when Rich went back to look at the forecast, it was more about projections aligned with where students normally go when they transition from the middle school to the high school and stuff like that. And of course, Oxbridge continues to be a draw for families as properties go on the market in that district. So
Yeah, it's a great school.
So the grammar school population, ELP population is basically stable.
yes, and we've got capacity was built at Oxbridge for that. So, and then I think it may change. We're trying to schedule a ribbon cutting ceremony, but we wanted Luke Forshore to be present and also Melissa. So that date may move a little bit from September 30th to early October. So I'll keep everyone posted on that. Kind of a ribbon cutting ceremony around the full phase, but it's a really spectacular building.
Great.
And Duke, I know the track project sounds like, it's pushed back a few weeks. Is that still looking like it's?
Good point. Thanks for bringing that up, Jim. Yeah, unfortunately, the weather pushed it out about a month. I roam up there every Sunday after I see Mr. Mulvaney at Mass and check out the track work. And it's progressing. We should be there at the end of September. It's not going to impact any of the upcoming games in terms of getting those kids and using that field. So, but it's on track, and it looks good. It'll be state of the art and really good for the students and the population.
Is there any update on the timeline for HHR?
Jill gave a quick update. They went through the bidding packages, decided which packages I think they're going to keep, and then they're doing a rebid of the packages, I believe, in October. And that's with some guidance from outside resources and a lot of work by the committee. And we have folks in town that are very helpful, that are developers themselves. And that's also watching the market out there in terms of other school projects that have started or stopped or where towns have been. So they're pretty confident in going out in October with the next bidding package.
So you're not breaking ground until 2024?
Correct. correct. Thanks for that question.
So on the 800,000, you had a surplus last year, right?
Right.
Okay, so from a timing standpoint, that what you gave back last year would have some impact on keeping the tax rate down and offsetting the 800 that we had to raise to have the surplus for the current year, right?
So when we construct the budget in sort of April of each year, we work with the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Ed to estimate what the surpluses will be for both of their budgets. And we ultimately bake all of that, or a substantial portion of that, and as a transfer from the general fund to support the next year's budget. So it's on the Board of Ed specifically, we assumed, Rich did a lot of work and gave us the amount, which was relatively close to the number where they actually shook out with. And that was actually a source, if you will, in funding the budget for fiscal year 2024, and the same on the Board of Selectmen side.
Well, also, when you're dealing with numbers of this size, fine tuning is, you have to have a little room in there, as far as I can see, having done it a few years.
Well, I think that's
Yeah.
We talked about one-
Hopefully it comes,
Yeah.
there is some room, and it's just good that it's a surplus rather than not.
But there's two pieces of the
Yeah.
price and there's a quantity. I think when you look at the Board of Ed side, even on the Board of Selectmen side, there's certain sort of employee counts and or student counts
Right.
that actually shift that up and down. So while you can predict, I think we're very good at predicting the price aspect of it, the quantity, whether it be teachers, students, or other things, or on the town side, when you look at sort of staffing within the police department or some of the others, the quantity is the one that we usually see drive it around, or on the revenue side on the town, whether it be investment earnings or tax collections.
I think the more important number is, I think your surplus is 1%. You're off by 1%. It's, that's a rounding error. It's not.
That's
it's
what
not
I
a whole-
said, yeah.
That's
Given the
pretty-
numbers,
It's 1% either way, or a 0.5% either way, it's
Seth,
fantastic.
over the years, working with John and working with Jim, there's just in some ways, a weekly conversation, especially February, March, April, May, as to where we're headed, what we're doing. And, I think our financial reporting is as such, thanks to feedback, from the Board of Finance, that it gives them the insight of where we're headed. And I know throughout the spring, Jim and I spoke about things that came up or where there may be a need for money, this, that, and the other thing. But I think from February or March on, you had a pretty good indication of where we were headed, because Rich he's got it down to a science from a budget standpoint.
Got down to 1%.
Yeah. And look, we made some decisions. We eliminated this coming budget control. We looked at turnover, and to Steve's point, at 1% on a $115 million budget, I think is pretty good. But the goal was to tighten the budget. So and make sure, and we've established the relationship over the last bunch of years with the Board of Finance, with the RTM subcommittees and the RTM, that if there's a need, there's a need, and we go through the process, and it's worked repeatedly.
Yeah.
It's less than 1%.
Yeah, thanks.
It's 0.8%.
Yeah, 60
I think
basis
you guys,
points.
you guys did pretty really good.
I agree.
I don't know anybody that can do-
1% on a number, though, it's pretty big. So, and would you rather have 1% of $2 or 20?
It's a half a point.
Anyway, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's
a half
you can tune it to a point, but, there's got to be some room. Thanks.
I think they worked very hard on arriving at those numbers.
Yes.
Thanks, Seth.
Safe journey.
Yes. Hey, Duke, pivoting back to the bus question, I don't know if you're going to know this off the top of your head, but what percentage of students that are eligible for the bus actually take the bus? Do you know that?
Good question, I do not, but I'll find out.
Okay.
I'll circulate it with the
All
crew.
right, and then just for the public, we had some questions about school closings. I know that that happened throughout Connecticut. Could you just explain to the public our policy on heat and early dismissal?
Yes, all the schools are air conditioned, some centrally. A lot of, especially the middle school, is more window units. That's been done over the last couple of years.
Permanent window units, though.
Excuse me?
Permanent window units.
Correct, thank you.
Yeah, they're
Yes,
not,
correct.
you're
Yeah.
not buying them at Home Depot,
Yeah.
put them in.
No,
That
no,
was
very
wired.
professionally done and wired and everything. And so those are some of the things that we'll look at from a capital standpoint on a go-forward basis. With that, we do look at the schools and the heat index and monitor it. It's more about after-school activities
Right.
that we really focus on, and those things are, like with the air quality issues and stuff like that, we would curtail those after-school issues, but we did not have any specific issues around the heat or the schools or early dismissal or
No,
anything like
okay.
that. But, you know, look, in line with if something, you know, gets to the point of even like a town hall or other places are closing too, that's in our policy to look at an early dismissal.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And in general, our cooling center is the library,
Yeah.
just for people to know.
What
Tracy?
about the gym here? Isn't that the cooling center? The Madison, the basketball court? No?
No.
I don't think that's air conditioned,
We,
Oh, okay.
we,
because we've held things in there, and
Yeah.
we've had big fans.
Okay.
Tracy?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for always inviting me to these. I guess I do want to remind the public that I'm here more as advisory and as a conduit to help kind of a seamless gap between state and local government. So it's lovely being here to hear what's going on in town at this level, and always my discussions with you are great. So appreciate
And with
that.
that, we welcome anyone that wants to join us.
Yes.
Any elected public official is always welcome to join
Yes.
OPC or a Board of Selectmen meeting.
Thank you. So, but if people see me not voting, it's not because I'm just abstaining from votes, it's because I'm not that member here. I'm here only as an advisory and as an invited guest, so I appreciate that. A couple of things I would like to say. It's nice to be the last one to speak because I get to hear what's going on. First of all, I wanted to mention that the Norwalk Transit is working on a study with DOT on Connecticut Post Road there. So, and it'll be a traffic study. So hopefully when all this, I need to confirm whether it's happening after all the construction has happened, but that is a very busy road for them as well, and there's a lot of pedestrian traffic, and then there's a lot of bus stops along the way too, so they'll be looking at the bus stops and the coverings of the bus stops and the flow of traffic as well. But I can get more details on when that's happening, because it would be nice to know if it's happening after they have all the buildings there. I don't necessarily always go to any of the P&Z things there, but I'm in touch with people in
There's some
Norwalk.
other projects I can tell you about too.
Okay, just because I'm also a representative in
Mhm.
Norwalk. For teachers, I mean, it's always so lovely to know how Darien does with retaining their teachers. I did want to let you know, and I'm sure you already do, but maybe for the public, that in one of our bills this year, one of my bills was passed, and that was to allow adjunct professors that work at a collegiate level to be able to get jobs at the high school level. And it's a special permit for them, but I know Darien does such a good job already at getting teachers for some of their AP classes, but across the state, when you have science, AP history, classes like that could really use a specialized teacher, it really opens up that gate. And want to thank Lawrence Durham in town for coming to me with that comment, which is leads into my next thing, which is right now for the next few months, we don't go into official session until February. So I am in the community, I'm talking to people. If anybody has issues with things that happen on the state level in which they have a solution, please come to me, because that's how government really works. I am a representative to Darien and Norwalk, and so I don't know if there's issues, if it's out of my purview, until you come to me, like Lawrence did with his issue, and now it's in law that can happen. I talked to Dr. Adley the other day about inviting used to be in Darien, the fourth graders would come to the Capitol to see how government works, and that doesn't happen anymore. I think they're now doing this civic classes in third grade, so I'm reaching out to
That's a great idea.
Julie Droller to
that.
invite the third graders to the
Awesome.
Capitol for a day. So I'm in the process of doing
That's
that.
terrific.
So I'm hoping, and I think it's not just great for, I actually went with my daughter to do that in fourth grade, and that's when I met Terry Wood.
And here you are today.
She's married now?
Maybe we should rethink it. But I think it's not just great for the kids. I think it's great for everybody in town just to see how the government is working for you. And let me just go. Oh, we have a special session date that's coming up, September 26th. It is, I think it's just a one-day thing, my understanding right now is that we're looking at moving the presidential primary up from the end of April to the beginning of April. I believe that is all that is on our docket for that day, but don't really find out what happens until the day before or sometimes the morning of. So I will certainly keep you informed of that, but I believe it is just a one-day event. And DOJ, if you want to know more about what's going on in your government, please sign up for my website. I do try to keep everybody informed about if there's traffic issues coming in town, or there have been 2 public hearings over the summer that I informed people of. One of them happened with the electric car ordinance. There was a public hearing over that, and I got a lot of feedback from our town, particularly on their issues with changing over to all electric in 2035. This is as we are tied to California with our environmental regulations, and California changed their laws, we automatically changed ours. So it was a discussion over the summer. I'm happy to talk to anybody about that moving forward. I'm guessing we'll probably see it back with the lawmakers at some point. So it kind of comes out of that regulatory bit. And the other one was a health insurance public hearing that happened. But if you do sign up to my website, I will inform you of these. Otherwise, you have to search for them yourself on the state website, which can be, not something you want to do every morning.
A little fact regarding the planned introduction of more electric cars. It's sort of a little bit of an arcane Connecticut law that car manufacturers can actually open up sales venues in the state of Connecticut.
Right, good point.
And which no one has been able to explain why that actually exists.
Yes.
Does that go through dealerships? Yeah.
So the other thing is we can look at whether it needs to be a state mandated or whether it's going to be a naturally occurring too. Because if you talk to the car manufacturers as it is, most of them are going to move over to all electric by 2030 anyway. Many of them across the board are already moving to all electric. So it's something that's naturally occurring, and we do need to be on top of to make sure we have the infrastructure ready to go for it. As someone who wrote back to me, I sent out the public notice and said, here it is, please make your voice heard. And he wrote back to me, he said, I really want to know what your thoughts on it are, which is which was a really fair point. So and if anybody ever does that, wants to hear what my thoughts are, I do lay out a very good pro and con back and forth on the issues. I like to be very clear on what's really good about this, what I think is great. I mean, electric cars we think is good for our environment, and that's but do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the electric grid? How are we getting, what kind of pressure are we putting on natural resources to make the electric cars? And do we have a way to put out the electrical fires because we have banned PFAS? So there's a lot more into it than just absolutely I'm for the good environmental things. Now let's look at the details and figure out the best way to move forward. So
the part that doesn't connect is like Tesla has the most charging stations in our area, but there's not a Tesla car store that you can buy a Tesla in the state of Connecticut.
right, and I
Closest
do
one is
think
like
that
Westchester.
Not Kisco.
yeah.
So that
Connecticut law prohibits a manufacturer of motor vehicles from actually selling them directly to the public. And so those dealerships like Tesla, those manufacturers like Tesla who don't work through dealerships aren't permitted to sell direct in Connecticut. So everyone drives to Westchester and pays the
And I
sales
feel
tax
like
that
there's
way.
been movement on that, and I'll check into that, but I feel like there has been some movement on that. But yeah, I mean,
in terms of market share, isn't Tesla the biggest electric car manufacturer in the world?
Yes. Pretty sure,
So the
yes.
biggest car manufacturer is not allowed to sell cars in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that's all I've got. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? No? No? Okay.
Friday night lights.
Talk to us.
Tonight, this weekend, I'm sure is Friday night football game.
It's actually because of the holiday, it begins at sundown on Friday. Our first home game is at 3:30 on Friday.
Wow.
But it'll be at the Darien Field, which will be operable and so forth, so, against Brian McMahon.
Yes.
Fantastic. Friday afternoon lights.
Is Chasten playing? Chasten play?
Yeah, I have a freshman on the team, yeah.
You're freshman. Okay, cool. All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Steve moves. Jim seconds. All in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.